All right, thank you one more time. The program is still right here this morning on ITV on independent television. I told you that the issue of June 12 is still on in the minds of Nigerians, and of course, little wonder how long it's going to stay. For about 32 years now, since 1993, that we had an election annulled in the country. Now, that election was between MK Abiola and, of course, Bashir Tofa. Now, MK Abiola was of the Social Democratic Party, and, of course, Alhaji Bashir Tofa was the presidential candidate of the National Republican Convention, NRC. And the election was duly contested and, of course, won, as we are, finding out now. Now, the whole story about the June 12th came up during the weekend when a former head of state in the country, Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, military head of state, then had to finally and eventually owned up that he annulled the election, not just only annulling the election, that MQ Abiola won that presidential election in 1993. It was actually in a book launch event that he did in Abuja, and the title of the book, Service, Journey in Service. And in that book launch, so many persons contributed to the book launch, raising over 700 billion naira. So a lot of persons even agreed that, for somebody to have annulled an election, and he came to the fore to tell Nigerians that he annulled that election, that MKO won that election, and you have, you find some other Nigerians contributing to a book launch that he did on the events of that, announcement, that what is really going on. Anyway, we are not going to be looking at that. What we're going to be considering and discussing this morning, we're going to be reviewing what actually happened all over one more time, and also to look at the political lessons that Nigeria, stands to gain from the whole June 12 saga. Well, with us this morning, we are so privileged to have an economist or a businessman. You may want to call him a public affairs analyst also, Gaius Ikpos. Sir, you're welcome to the program this morning on ITV. All right, now, you probably are one of the Nigerians that is making reactions to the book launch issue, and of course the June 12th saga and all that and all that. So where do we really begin from? What strikes you most in the whole episode, the whole story surrounding the book launch, and of course surrounding the annulment of the June 12th presidential election in 1993?
Okay. For me, I've not really read the book.
Yeah.
I came back from Abuja yesterday, actually. I made some good effort to get the book, but all the stores I went to, they don't have it yet, because obviously it's just been launched, and before it gets into circulation, it's going to take a while. But for me, given the track record of IBB, I don't actually think the book can't satisfy the curiosity of Nigerians or bring out those truths they want to know. I actually watched the video concerning the book launch, and Osibanjo put up a stellar performance on analyzing the book, because he was the explanator. He explains what the book is all about, but he didn't go in depth because he wanted people to buy the book. So a lot of reservations will still be there, because that book has to be in proper circulation for people to read and be able to speak out. But I've seen some interviews about people that has read the book, and totally the book is just a flock. It's a cover-up of a lot of things that were not said concerning what exactly happened in June 12th.
All right, so when you say a lot of things were not said, things like what? You mean the fallout of people that later died?
Exactly. IBB coming out to say he didn't do this, he didn't do that. And if you look at the other people he's blaming, they are all dead. There's a saying that dead men tell no tale. They are not here to defend themselves. Abacha, despite his military antecedents and everything everybody knows about him as, but it would have been fair if this book was released earlier on. A lot of those informations that IBB is now releasing out for public consumptions has been left over the years to marinate. People have died, so there's going to be little reactions coming out from people that is as powerful as he is. You don't expect a state governor to openly rebuke IBB concerning some of those statements, or the current political class that were actually his boys when he was president of Nigeria. If you look at what exactly happened, it's just a collection of those people that has benefited from him one way or the other, coming out to patronize him, to glorify him in his old age.
You mean in the book launch now?
Yes, in the book launch. How many people? It was billionaires, it was political godsons of IBB in the past. People a couple of them openly said that he has favored them. He has, no matter how bad a leader is, his children will never condemn him as a bad man. So what I saw at the book launch is IBB's political children coming out to say good things about him, how he gave them oil well, how he did this, how he did that. You don't expect the truth to come out from such a gathering.
All right, now, you see, we're going to be majorly talking about the political lessons that we should learn as a country, maybe as politicians from the book launch, because from the whole situation now, the way it seems, it looks as if, even from the way you try to explain it, it looks as if that the book launch is an event on its own. The book it's something on its own. The launch is an event on its own. Then, of course, the June 12th, the annulment of the June 12th is an event on its own. Now, you find out why Nigerians are bothered about June 12th and the annulment of the election. Politicians and the way you put it now, the big wigs, IBB boys and all that, they are concerned, or they were concerned about the book. Does it really mean that our politicians and our leaders have really not learned some lessons from the annulment of the June 12th?
I won't say they haven't learned some lessons, but the current system favors them. So you don't expect them to go against the system. Of course, there are a lot of lessons. If MKO Abiola has been the president, a lot of things that has happened in Nigeria. Of course, Nigeria would have had a different fate from 1992 till now. That's about 32 years. It now means someone like Obasanjo could not have come
as the president.
So you never can tell what the current state of Nigeria.
Yes. Let's say may not have come.
No, I don't think he would have, because after a Yoruba man ruled for 8 years, it won't be a Yoruba man.
And maybe subsequently after that he would.
Well, I think it would have been, because him coming, we exactly knew what happened, how it was negotiated for him to come through. I think Obasanjo coming in was also a little bit of compensation for IBB's death. Okay, since IBB had died, after IBB, Abacha took over, let's just compensate the Southwest with this same position, because the South was not really a political juggernaut as at 1999, and the Southeast, they were still reeling from the whole discrimination from civil war. So definitely the only southern region that could have produced presidency as at 1999 was the Southwest.
And of course, what's his name now? This man came about. What's his name now? The one we're talking about now came about. Now Obasanjo came about.
Yes.
Okay, but let us look at because we are trying to situate something here. We understand that the compensation, like what you said, that the compensation may start from even making Obasanjo to take off, after some protagonists of the event died, Abacha and all that. But let's look at the compensation over the years. Obasanjo came up as a compensation, national honor given to Kola Abiola, the son to MKO Abiola. Then, of course, June 12th declared as a national day. Then we also understand that a certain court in the U.S. had to rule in favor of the Abiola's family. That's about $680 should be paid to the family. I'm sure the federal government would have paid that. Now, would we want to say that that is enough compensation?
That is not enough compensation. It can never be. that's a compensation to the family of Abiola. It's not a compensation to Nigerians. Nothing came from Nigerians did not benefit any way with those negotiations and compensation. The best compensation to Nigerians would have been a better leadership. Of course, it's not possible to have to be able to tell what exactly the style of leadership of Abiola might have been. You get, but that election is adjudged the freest and fairest election in Nigerian history. And given that an antecedent, you understand, we would have been expecting something wonderful from the administration of Abiola. So from 1999, we are still saddled with bad leadership, rigging of elections, political underdevelopment in the country and everything. So a good compensation from that experience would have been good leadership. I think that is the only compensation, because even if you give every Nigerian 1 million naira from as a kickback from having that experience, just like they did to the Abiola family, it will not solve anything.
Now, what actually makes you feel, or maybe some people talking about MK Abiola's, the president would never had. What actually makes you feel that Abiola would have probably been a better leader?
Well, I don't think he would have been a better, we don't know. I don't know Abiola's character. Personally, we've elected good leaders. We've elected, okay, let me give an example. I always used to say high-end education, being exposed, having a great knowledge is not a prerequisite for performance in public office. One of the most educated governor in Nigerian history anywhere, is the current governor of Anambra State. But with all the feedbacks and feeders we are getting, he's not doing very well in public office. So there's no way to actually know, but that's the beauty of democracy. Whether the person turns out to be democratic or not, to do what he or she is elected to do, regardless, the system that brings you in matters a lot. That is the start. And fortunately, the system or the election that's supposed to usher Abiola into government is adjudged the freest and the best election ever.
Now, when you say the freest, now I think Nigerians also probably need to be very careful, because in the book we are talking about now, IBB further made a suggestion that option A4, that Nigeria as a nation should resort back to option A4 as a way of voting. Different from the open ballot secret system that we're using now. Now, you and I know, because I remember 1993, I was much more younger then. I remember this same election. Some persons also, said that the election was really not the option A4, that we had situations whereby people were counted, that they jumped counting 1, 5, 10, and all that. So I really don't understand, or some people really don't understand when we say the freest election in our political history.
Okay, being the first election does not mean it's a perfect election. There's no perfect election anywhere. Even in America, you have inaccuracy, you have inconsistency, you have issues in and around every single election, issues on collations and everything. But if 70% to 80% of the electoral process is seen as fair, then it's a go. But me and you know right from 1999, you can't actually say that. What we are even looking at, maybe 30% ratings, 20% ratings, 40% ratings, as against the 1992 election that you can rate at 80% or even 70%.
All right, so for you now, the greatest compensation is not what has been given to the family of MK Abiola.
At all.
It should be to Nigerians and,
Exactly. Like what I'm hearing is that he has been awarded GCFRO, by the former administration of Muhammadu Buhari, and people are clamoring that he should be recognized as an ex-president with all the benefits, and it does not still solve Nigerians' problem. It makes the leadership, it makes the systems feel good. It makes them feel righteous, like, okay, they've done their bit. It strips them of the guilt.
Okay. All right, so the program is still this morning on ITV on independent television. We have Gayos Ikbomusa here with us, a public affairs analyst and, of course, a businessman in Nigeria. Looking at June 12, because the issue of June 12 cuts across all facets of the society, the Nigerian society, and, of course, a lot of persons are so interested. Even those that we are not even giving birth to in 1993. You hear them talk about the June 12 election and, of course, the annulment. We'll take a short pause. We'll be right back. Please stay tuned.
TMI, every opinion counts.
All right, thank you so much. The program stay right here on independent television. Gaius Ikbomusa is our guest on the program this morning, and we're still looking at the issue of June 12, the political lessons that we as a nation should be learning from the episode, from the saga of June 12, and of course there are annulments of that election. Now, Mr. Ikbomusa, let us look at the political lessons now for politicians. Where do we really start from, you know, as lessons that politicians should learn from June 12 story?
It's actually funny that I don't think they've learned anything, or that they will want to learn. Credibility, if there's any lesson they should learn from it, or they ought to learn, is credibility. That regardless of Abiola's death, people are still speaking about him. Even though he was never declared a president, people are still speaking about good name. Good name. His family legacy, we don't know what that has turned into. But in terms of his political legacy, good name is better than riches. That's what every politician should learn. That regardless of how far or how long a particular thing is choked, it will definitely come out. Imagine 32 years later, people are speaking about Abiola. People are speaking about the legacy of that election. People are trying to make compensation to his name, his legacy, his family, and what they can do. Even though we know that, okay, it's going to take a while, but those conversations are being held in every quarter in Nigeria currently. And I think his name will even be more immortalized than some of the presidents we've seen, or that has even ruled physically over Nigeria.
But that may be a statement of fact.
Yeah.
Now, you just also alluded to what some people kind of finding difficult to understand, you know, saying that June 12 is a legacy in Nigeria. Is June 12 really a legacy or a total loss to the country?
Well, it's a legacy and it's a total, it didn't happen, you get. So everybody is here thinking about what could have been if it has been allowed to skate through. We'll never know. But at the same time, it's a loss to the country. It's a loss, but it's a legacy to the man himself.
Now, what would you also want to make of what some, you know, the reactions are divergent now. Some are even saying that IBB should be tried, or that some are saying that you really need not to blame IBB. I mean, there were situations then, there were national interest issues and all that. And of course, if IBB were to be here now, he would have probably told Nigerians this morning that, look, he had to annul that election for national interest and all that. So what would you say about that?
Well, I think him annulling the election was a mistake, which he will admit to. I think with the review I've seen of the book, he has admitted to that if I watched the video during the launch, he also said if he was going to do it all over again, he won't. So it means he had a choice, but he took another route. Whatever reason that might be, you understand, might not have been written verbatim in that book for maybe security reasons, or it might robe in some other powerful nations in the world. During the time IBB ruled Nigeria, it was a different political atmosphere in the world. I think Ghanaian president made a lot of statements concerning it during the book launch because he gave a speech. He made mention of how the world has changed, how it was not easy to make some certain kind of decision as at then, because you had this two-power block between the Americans and the Russians. Of course, Africa was at the middle of the crossfire, so every decision you make, you get. It's not like now that, okay, there's some semblance of freedom and your ability to take decisions by African countries, but then it was more intense. So we never can tell exactly what transpired, how powerful countries in the West were able to hold African leaders to the jugular to say, okay, you have to do this, you have to do that. It also borders on, all these decisions also borders on some of IBB'S and policies concerning the structural adjustment program. You get how the United Nations or the World Bank imposed and made a strict sanction on say, okay, you have to implement this to get this. But we exactly know the results of that, how the Naira never recovered after the structural adjustment program. So some of these decisions are actually global, you get, but in our own way, in our country, they have a direct impact.
On us.
Yes.
All right, so we'll just see how that impact is going to, how Nigerians will be able to manage it in many years to come. Now, because that impact we're talking about now, a lot of people may not easily be relieved of the impact, the implication of the impact on people, because for them, look, we have missed it and all that, and we may not get back politically in Nigeria. So what are the advice that we should be telling ourselves? How should we be soothing ourselves? I mean, June 12 has come and gone, it has failed. Where do we go from here?
Luckily for us, there was a confab during President Jonathan's administration.
Yeah.
And of course, we've mixed June 12, but we've not missed it entirely. It will take the political will of the leadership of this country to be able to put their best foot forward. I really hope President Tinubu has that will to be able to damn some consequences, look some regions in the face to say, okay, this is what I'm going to implement, and he do it, or he does it. Jonathan did a confab, and I think up till now, it's one of the best documents that has ever been produced in Nigeria, because it cut across. It was not a confab of PDP or APC.
Okay.
It went across. They reached out to every nook and cranny, religion, institution in this country to send a representative. Yeah. That's why you see when Buhari was president, he took out what he could implement from that document and implemented it concerning electoral reform. So you get Tinubu is doing the same thing concerning tax reforms. It takes one step at a time. We really, really hope that from now on, every leader go back to that document to look at what they can implement from that document, because it is not a party document, it's not a political document, it's the way forward for Nigeria.
Okay. All right, so I want to say thank you, Mr. Gaius, for joining us on the program this morning.
Thank you
so much for being on our show. Now, the issue of 2014 National Confab is there, just like what Ikpomusa said. But again, we also understand that Tinubu is also preparing to have his own confab, the Youth Confab, the Youth National Youth Conference, or National Youth Summit. That's what Tinubu calls it, and it's going to be in this year, 2025. So we really don't understand whether issues that were met at the last confab are going to be things that this youth conference is going to be working with, or a total thing entirely. We don't know yet. All right, so we'll just anchor this segment here.